Hey guys, so one of my last videos, one of my commenters asked me a question, and I answered the question, and then I realized I hadn't answered his damn question. I ramble on in my comments. I hadn't answered what he'd asked. What he asked me to do is see if I could describe the difference in the hits between my two Tascarellas. My newest one, this is my main cue with the stainless steel joint. It's the piloted joint with the compression fit. In other words, once I get down about here, it gets tight to get screwed in, and it's got a triangle tip on it. My first Tascarella has a flat-faced ivory joint, and I think it just goes straight into wood. I'm going to find out real quick here. Or does it insert on the shaft on the other cue? And there's not one on this cue, I don't think. No, it just goes into threaded wood. The pin's different, so it probably has to be because it's going into wood. And I was asked to see if I could describe the difference in the hits between these two cues. I believe these two cues have very similar hits, but that one is better. The newer one is better. And really, that's one of the reasons I bought it. Because I bought this one first. I said, well, yeah, this is really good. But wasn't what I had been calling a wow cue as far as hit goes. I said, well, maybe a stainless steel piloted joint would hit better. And as it turns out, that's the case. But it's going to be unbelievably tough, maybe even impossible for me to try to describe the difference. The differences are subtle, and they really may just be me. Somebody else may shoot with the same two cues and come up with the exact opposite conclusion. They may decide that the old cue has a better hit. The older cue that has a better hit. I just flat out don't know. It's so subjective. The way I described it, though, I was describing what a great hitting cue is to me. I called it efficient. Whereas I've mentioned in the video before, if I have any shot, first thing that happens is my arm moves. At the moment that the Q-tip gets in contact with the cue ball, all kinds of physicsy shit happens. Really quickly. But you get noise gets generated, you get some vibrations get generated, a little bit of heat gets generated, things like that, all kinds of physicsy shit, and the cue ball starts moving and or spinning. This is what happens. What I was calling an efficient hit, which to me is the more efficient the better, and this cue has a fantastic hit. It's not that it's not making heat or vibration or noise. That'd be weird if you hit a ball and it made no noise. That would be weird. It's that the cue ball doesn't seem to be wasting any time at all on doing it. The cue ball is like reacting immediately to the contact. Whereas with this cue, which again has a very good hit, it's just not quite as good. You guys actually also say this cue is like 19.461 ounces, and this one is 19.186. So this one is a little bit lighter. I can move my arm a little bit faster. Probably has something to do with it. Oh, this guy also has not the triangle tip. It's got one of those ultra skin fire tips. It's red. I'm going to try that out. This is ivory. Ferrule is ivory on this cue. This ferrule is not ivory. I don't know what it is, and obviously stainless steel joint. But when I hit a ball with this cue, for example, it's still great. It's still great, but it's just not as great. And unfortunately, I don't know if I can be any more scientific or descriptive than that. There's not a whole lot of difference, but I never once shot a ball with this cue and immediately thought to myself, wow, Whereas with this cue I did. It's just something that clearly I'm having a hard time describing, is what is the difference in the hits. That, there just is one. If you ever have an opportunity to hit a ball with a what I've been calling a wow hitting cue, and if you're anything like me, you'll know immediately. As soon as you hit the shot, you'll just know immediately, wow, this hit's fantastic. I have cues over here. To be quite honest, I have cues over here that hit better than my main Tascarella. Not a lot, but a little bit better. Namely my Josses and my Peachars. I think my absolute best hitting cue is what I bought last January, is my Color Money Joss cue. I think that's my absolute best hitting cue. Then I've got the other Josses and the Peachars in there. Got this one, a middle of the road. It's not a middle of the road hit, it's middle of the road of a great hitting cue, a really good hitting cue. We like my Southwest or my Scruggs. Cues that I have that don't hit particularly well, one of my old Predators does not hit particularly well. And sure, some of that may be the tip, but a lot of it I think is in the construction. The quality of the wood. In the case of the Tascarella, I really like this compression fit. I think this made a lot of difference in how good this hits. This shaft, if anybody watched any of my older videos, while this butt was off getting rewrapped, this shaft sat on one of my Sean's, and it wasn't as good of a hit because it didn't have I could screw the shaft onto the butt, but it wasn't that where it got tight there at the very end. I would think that's making a huge difference in how good this cue hits compared to almost everything else I have. I wish I had a machine or whatever, some kind of a hit gauge where I could just, stick both these cues in and it would do whatever the hell it does and spit out some number. But I don't have a machine like that. I don't know that one exists. So I kind of try to just do it by my feel or whatever. And because I'm a human being, I can't do the exact same thing identically every time. So it's just a matter of just hit the balls and just see what happens. And as I said, when I shoot with a wow hitting cue, it's always just been immediate for me. It's always just, and frankly, until I got this cue, it was always a little bit of a surprise to me. If I was, my Southwest was my main cue, and I would hit balls with it. I do miss my Southwest, but luckily it's right here. When this was my main cue, I'll shoot with it, and I'm like, yeah, this is fine. I like the cue. I like everything about it. I should be shooting with it and be used to it and such. I wouldn't really think too much about the hit. Well, yeah, it's got a good hit. But then I would go and I'd pick up something else. Like, for example, this is my Color Money Joss. And shoot a shot with it. And it's immediately go, wow. It just happened again. Just for those few shots with the Southwest that has a really good hit, but not a great hit, to this, which has an absolutely fantastic hit. Like I said at the beginning, it's so damn subjective. These are just, my opinions of the hits of stuff. I don't know of an objective way to say this one hits better than this one, but only barely, and this one hits a little bit worse than these two, but only. I don't know of an objective way to do that. Maybe there's not one that is like global. Maybe there's a way I could define it all for myself, and maybe somebody else would get the same whatever 42 cues I have if they shot with all of them, they may come up with different rankings. I think some of the cues that I have that don't hit very well at all, I think they're always going to be kind of close to the bottom. But you know, what do I know? All I know is, you know, my own game and my own preferences. That's what I have to talk about. I'm not going to talk about somebody else's preferences and tastes and all that when I don't know what they are. And I'm not going to be one of those people that says the cue that I say hits the best is the best cue, and you should go get the best cue. Because who am I to tell you what to get or what is going to be the best hitting cue for you? I'm not going to be one of those guys, and so I'm not one of those guys. That's just the way it is for me on those two cues. They are close. I do not think the differences in the hit quality is the material of the joint. One is ivory, one is stainless steel. I think the difference is one of them is flat faced and one of them has got that compression fit piloted joint. I think that's the difference. There's probably a little bit else in there. You know, the weight is different. The balance point is going to be a little bit different. It's going to change my timing and such. Right now the tips are different. But even before, even when the older one had the triangle tip on it, it was the same deal. I think the difference is mainly in the joint. A little bit of other things, quality of wood and stuff like that's probably involved. But for me, that compression fit, piloted stainless steel joint, I think that makes the difference to push that over the top into the wow category for me. All right, bye.